How do you define ancestral healing?
One morning when I was meditating, I heard very clearly, this is about your ancestors. Shadow work is about integrating that, accepting it, loving yourself more. The againstness that sometimes people experience when they're in a relationship could be that the other person has reflections from their child, and so they're not seeing you correctly. When you're listening to yourself, you're not only just listening to Tanya, you're listening to your higher self, which is your soul that knows so much more and is tapped into an even higher source that is the whole universe. Diabetes comes from lack of joy.
What advice would you give someone who has recognized that they have a shadow, but they are not able to move forward?
First thing that comes to me is
welcome back to the Celestevolve podcast. Today we have Susan Burrell, who's done a ton of research on ancestral healing and shadow work. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
When we talk about intergenerational trauma, which is going like mainstream right now, how do you define ancestral healing that is in a way actionable for someone feeling stuck in family patterns today?
I do a lot of meditation and journaling, Tanya, and I had to take a very hard stop a few years ago from my business because I kept running up against a wall and I knew it was something in me. So I took time off and daily meditated, and I began to work with the archangels. I had never done that, any kind of angel work, never done that. Then I was working with elementals, never did that. So it was like I was on an accelerated growth pattern. And during one of the meditations, because I was working on the feeling of feeling worthless, not feeling valuable. And I think a lot of women in my culture don't feel valued. You know, we're very, I guess womankind all over the world feel that at times. So one morning when I was meditating, I heard very clearly, this is about your ancestors. It wasn't me that I had done something wrong and therefore I was worthless. It came down through my family of origin. And so then I was intuitively led to investigate up my different lineages. So through my matriarchal side, my mom's, and then through my patriarchal side, my father's, to see where that behavior and that belief system came from, because it was passed down. And what I've learned since then is that our ancestors from way, like several centuries ago, really had it rough. They don't have it like we do today, where you and I can talk across the world with technology and all that. They were struggling if they were in the peasant station in life, or they were in the kingly, but totally out of touch with what was going on. So wherever they were in that system determined the values they developed, the beliefs they developed, and then those were passed down generation to generation, probably in an effort to keep someone safe, but probably really because they were unconscious, right? I was able to get back as far as I could feel intuitively was the person that really kind of started that belief system that got passed down. What was led to do was gently take what she had been holding on to really tight, you know? This is who she was, this is what she felt, so therefore was true, and just gently take it from her. And I was able to pull it, like I see it, I visualize when I do guided meditations that are kind of channeled, and I do that by visualizing as I'm speaking. So I saw these different women allowing me to take the cord or the ribbon or in one case on the patriarchal side, it was a big, thick, heavy chain, and just relieve them of that burden, you know, if you will. And I did it with love and with gratitude and letting them know they didn't do anything wrong. But the intention was to release them from that and have it stop with me. To me, that's what ancestral clearing is it stops with me, with this person that is asking for that clearing. And that way, then my son and future generations, now my granddaughter, can have freedom. That low self-esteem or that feeling devalued will not get passed down anymore. And therefore, it goes 7 generations or more forward. It goes a lot more generations backwards. If there's also this idea, Tanya, that time is infinite and that there's multiple timelines. And so and I believe that. So if you do the work on one timeline or in your past, then your future doesn't have to be influenced by that anymore. If that makes sense. You can really collapse the belief in your past or from your past, so the future doesn't get projected into the future, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I came into doing this ancestral clearing.
So when you say that you found out who this person is, how did you find out? And did you have to work on your intuition?
Okay, so there's a few things I want to say about that. First of all, I believe that we are all divine beings and that there is this infinite spark of light that connects us to each other. I really believe we're all one. And therefore, if I can do it, so can you. When I was really, really little, I remember there was a TV show. It was called The Twilight Zone. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those. And it was always this weird do stuff that would happen. And I must have been like 3 or 4. My parents were watching it, and I probably snuck out of bed to watch it. And there was a repetitive scene that was happening in this show about a car going over a bridge and people dying. And it just kept. And it ends up that there was a woman standing on the bridge who was psychic and saw it before it happened and kept seeing it because she was supposed to warn somebody. And right there, that little girl said, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to see the future. I don't want to know what's going on, what's going to happen. So I kind of shut down that part. But when I was going through a really intense time in my life, going through a divorce after 28 years, and my ex-husband really shattered me, I began to really go deeper into my self exploration and began to find that not only, and again, I think we can all do this, Tanya. I'm intuitively pointing at you. Um, that I could sense things. I had always been the person that could walk into a room and sense stuff going on with people. And I thought everybody could do it, right? Like I'm saying. But it became where I could stand next to somebody and actually feel like, oh, he's got a hip issue. That's why he's limping. Oh my God. And it's going down into his knee. It's destroying his knee. But that kind of stuff I could feel. Or this person has something going on with their cells and I don't know what it is, but it's showing up in the lungs, whatever that means. I also found that was becoming more pronounced. And I also found that I had taken a hands-on healing class, just one, and some Reiki classes, that I can focus energy through my hands. Again, I teach students how to do that. It's not hard to do. Mostly to clear my energy, but I also am able to use it when I'm working with clients. It's not like a Reiki master, but I have been able to use it. So all these things became new when I was in my 50s. I'm like, oh, I can do that. Oh, and I can do that. And all of a sudden it was really fun stuff. When I work with clients, I find that as they're telling me their story, because everybody has to tell their story, I can listen on multiple levels and I can hear what they're not saying. Reasoning or incidents of why they're not telling me the underlying thing. And then what I do is I just say, well, let's do a guided meditation. And I just start opening up and I'm able to pinpoint it for them and help them to open up and transmute it. Maybe they release it. Maybe they just accept it. Sometimes I visualize colors. I actually see colors a lot. I don't know what any of this means. I haven't taken classes in it. This is like my self-discovery. But it's actually been really helpful for me to learn that little girl who said, I'm not doing that, was really very, very, I want to say talented. That's not the right word, was very capable. And then having gone through a lot of my, 28 years with a narcissist who kept telling me I was nothing, coming out of that and recognizing that I am indeed the person I thought I was, it has been huge. And then teaching light leaders, other people, to own their light and then stand in their truth and speak truth to wherever they are, whether it's in their family of origin or on a stage or whatever. It's becoming in this world very important for people to speak from the light within them and not their mind, the
Yeah.
linear logical mind that also the ego kind of has a hold of. But that I don't know if you're going to there really isn't a lot of true things in that linear mind. It's just the thing that keeps us occupied while we're trying to grow and evolve from our heart system. The truth and our wisdom comes from our heart, where
Yes,
there
that's
is
right.
that connection to source energy. It's in the heart. It's not in the mind. And when I first started doing this spiritual work, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, it took forever for me to get people to get out of their heads and drop into their hearts. And recognize that's where their truth is. Because there's always this idea that, no, see, I've got to figure out the problem so I can come up with the solution and then take action steps. But you don't need any of that, everybody. You really don't. You just need to listen to what your intuition is telling you and then follow that.
So I tried to do something on inner child healing. I put the meditation and I did it. I didn't expect my childhood to be traumatic or anything because I thought I had a good childhood. But when I did the inner child meditation, what came through was surprisingly this 3-year-old me standing there super incredibly excited about what the future is going to be like and wanting to explore and do things. And then I had my dad caging me up, not allowing me to do anything that I wanted. And he's like that. He wants us, he's like very overprotective about us and want to ensure our physical safety. So he didn't allow me to do that. And I was also shamed for wanting to explore. So I felt like the bad child. And I realized that I carried this on forever because after I got divorced and I was suddenly free, I could do anything I want, I still did not do. I still had this intense desire or like this want or need to get married as soon as possible again. Like I want to be caged again. And it was so hard because I'm free. Like I don't have to ask anyone if I have to go travel somewhere or if I have to go meet my friend or come back late. I don't have to ask anyone. However, I still felt the need to do it.
Yes.
I felt like I had to report to someone. I have to get permission from someone. But once
Yep.
I saw this, it released me and it was like this huge burden or energy that was keeping me stuck, releasing from my body. Oh, it was
Oh my
so
God, that's
wonderful.
exquisite. That's wonderful. And a lot of people, because I thought I had a happy childhood too, a lot of people don't realize the undercurrents that are going on or the above board currents that are going on with our parents. We intuitively as children pick up on it my first grandchild was just born a month ago. She is aware and awake. She's only 1 month old. She can see across the room. She is looking at the lights that are coming in from the other side, right? And she's watching them. And my kids say, she does a lot of kind of talking in her sleep. She's only a month old. She doesn't talk. But I know she's still in communication
Yeah.
with the other side, with her angels, with all those beings, because she is so bright. So we all come in like that, And then given the circumstances our parents are in and how they were raised and their belief systems within the first 3 to 5 years, a lot of that light is shut down because the parents have forgotten that they were that. And, I used to just observe things and speak it out loud. And my mother was humiliated several times because I would see things about other people and just say, Mommy, look at that. And she was like, you can't say that. You can't say that. And so by 3, I was done, talk about a cage. Yeah, I call it a box. I was put in a box.
Yeah.
And it does take a long time. And because we were trained that way by parents that loved us, that were trying to take care of us, that wanted the best for us, but we were still trained, then of course it makes sense to me when you got out of divorce, you felt like it might be better for you to be remarried. And yet part of, and maybe it is, I got remarried, but I know for me, I learn best when I'm in relationship. And I also wanted to prove to myself that I could have a happy, healthy relationship with someone as well as with myself. And it had to start with me though. I recognized I didn't have a relationship with myself. I was constantly giving myself over to other people. So once I began to develop that relationship and learn how to love and respect myself, that was a huge awakening right there. And then that's probably when all the clairvoyance and audio and blah, blah started to open up in the healing, because I was in contact with me, with the originating blueprint of my soul by then. But I had
Yes.
not for years. So
What would your step-by-step process be for someone to uncover what the shadows are in them? Because sometimes what happens is you find, okay, you have a shadow. And then in order to fix the shadow, you beat yourself up so much. And then you re-traumatize yourself doing the shadow work. So what would your step-by-step process be for someone to find out what are their shadows?
I have a couple of things to say about that, Tanya. So we all don't have just one shadow. There's multiple shadows, and it starts when we're very, very young because of just what I described, where our family says, don't do that, do this, oh, that. So
Yeah.
then when there's blaming or shaming, we tuck that inside of us. Oh, I guess I can't say what I think. I'll just put that over here. And then that shame makes that piece of ourselves dark, right? And then we're embarrassed if it comes out, or we don't trust ourselves. So there's lots of different things. Not that we're all serial killers inside and have shadows that are that, but it is part of the process, the human process. I believe parents wanting their children to fit in so they'll be cared for and taken care of, right? And if we look completely out of the box, completely out of the cage, then that scares them. So we develop these aspects of ourselves, and Carl Jung was the first one to really look into that and what does that mean. And he's the one that also wrote a whole bunch of stuff about archetypes that Carolyn Mays has made a beautiful, she's just expanded on all that. But basically, we all have shadows, and for whatever reason, we don't want other people to see those shadows, whether we've been shamed about it or we just think it's wrong or scary. A lot of people don't want to meditate because they're afraid that they're going to find the monster within them that's been hiding, right? Depends on what belief system you adhere to, because then the people also think that that's a way that the devil gets to you. It's really all just psychological. So, and then you said something about, and then, to try and fix that. So what I've discovered and learned, and I've got a great woman to suggest you have on your show who has been doing this kind of shadow work for over 30 years. I'll let you know her name and get you her number. It isn't about clearing the shadow so you can be all light and good and perfect. It's about recognizing the shadow, just like you did when you did your inner child work. You had to recognize that little girl. You had to see her and accept her. So it's about recognizing that we have these things within us that we thought weren't good or we really don't like, and begin to blend them or integrate them so that you become a whole person again with the light and the dark. It's the yin yang symbol with, and one side's light and one side's dark, and inside the darkness there is one dot of light, and inside the light there's one dot of darkness, but it comes together in a whole, as a whole. And so shadow work is about integrating that, accepting it, loving yourself more. And that means loving the shadow pieces. And the shadow pieces are really here to help our soul evolve even more. Because I really believe we're here for soul evolution. And I believe that we have been incarnated multiple times for the soul to grow and evolve and things like that. So recognizing your shadow and beginning to work with it so that it becomes part of you instead of being pushed off to the side, I think is very, very important. At least that's what I'm discovering now with myself. So when I say, oh, I don't want to face that part of myself when I've just been like a complete and awful person to someone, I make myself sit down and go, okay, so what was that? And why do you feel so bad now? And then we're going to welcome all those pieces back into the center, not so the bad behavior continues, but so that the light gets to dissolve the rough edges of the darkness, if you will, and it can all come back to a wholeness.
Hey everyone, I am super excited to be sharing this amazing news with you guys. I have been officially accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. Yay! This milestone wouldn't have been possible without your incredible support, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of my journey. Whether you've been here from the start or just joined us, your likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me. If you enjoy the content and you haven't subscribed yet, now would be the perfect time for you to join our community. You can also show your support by using the Super Thanks feature or joining our membership for exclusive perks just for you. Thanks again for everything. Now let's dive back into the video. Do you think you can recollect any client stories that talk about how you removed the shadows and integrated the love back into their life?
Well, it's not really like that for me. It's because my intention is always to bring people to the awareness that they are love and light. So it's what I do is I help people to see where their blocks are. So usually there's, like I said earlier, there are stories we run about ourselves. Probably we run those stories because those shadow pieces haven't been addressed. But like the story, I'm not worthy, let me see. Well, I have one client, she tells me all the time, when I was growing up, loving myself wasn't an option. It just wasn't an option. I either had to get a job or get married. And loving myself, it wasn't even addressed, And so now she has developed self-love to the degree that when she starts to feel depressed or lonely, she recognizes that it's time for her to reach out to people. It's time for her to do self-care in loving herself. So she'll take a bath or whatever it is that helps her remember to love herself first. And then all that loneliness or despair begins to go away. And those are the shadow pieces: loneliness, despair, anger, fear, things like that. So what I really try and do, it isn't that I direct them to their shadow. I help people discover it for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if we do the work for someone else, they don't do the work. Do you see what I'm saying? If we're here to grow our souls and evolve, that means we got to do the inner work. And if somebody else, a teacher, tells you, oh, well, you got this going on, and here, if you do A, B, and C, follow my method, you'll be fixed, I would just say run in another direction, because that's not what you're here to do. You can try on somebody else's method, right? You can try on their coat, go, oh, well, it's a Goldilocks story. Oh, this chair's too small. This chair's too big. You can try all that stuff, but unless it resonates with you and it feels right and makes you feel good about yourself, nobody's method is going to work for you, because it's you having to take self-responsibility and really heal yourself as much as you humanly can. Now, I personally have other healers I work with to help me with my stuff so that I can clear my stuff, or at least get it understood. So then when I work with my clients, I can help them. But for me, it's always about assisting another person in finding their own truth. And sometimes their truth looks very different than what I think I see for them. Very different. I have two clients that I thought, oh my God, these poor women, they need to get divorced. They were talking divorce. I was like, yeah, I think that's probably Good idea. You need to get divorced. Well, one of them reconciled with her husband and they're happier than ever. But she
How
had to
did that
be,
happen?
she got cancer, but they had to be separated for a few years. For her, again, she was the wife, the trophy wife, the pretty girl, the tennis player. She had to really find her inner spiritual awakening
Yeah.
and really sort through that for her. And what she did, he had to do his work too. And once they did, then they were able to come back together because they really, 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 truly loved each other. I have another client who is like, I want to get divorced, but I don't think I can because he has all the money. And
Mm.
she's in her late 70s. I'm like, I don't know what you do. But she's so unhappy. What I assist her in is how to find those self-care things like meditation and journaling and changing her perspective, because there's also changing our perspective of how we see others, which is very vital in the world right now with what's going on all over the world, is to change how we see other people, because the againstness that sometimes people experience when they're in a relationship is not necessarily what's actually going on. It could be a reflection from their childhood. It could be that the other person has reflections from their child, and so they're not seeing you correctly. Follow what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. What you said is right, because when you say if you are trying to follow the steps, because now there are so many shadow work coaches on Instagram who say, I have the pseudo shadow analysis ABC category course. You buy that and you would be able to clear your shadow. And then if you don't clear your shadow, this is the reason why you're not able to clear your shadow.
And
They
therefore
get
you have to take more of my.
more of my stuff, and they try to shame you so much. It's not the kind
It's
way of
called
doing it.
marketing. It's called marketing, right, Tanya?
Yeah, it is called
Yeah.
marketing. It is extreme.
And even if they say they're this, I was going to say holier than thou, even if they say they got it figured out, they're still trying to sell you something,
Yes.
because they need to make a buck. And some of them make quite a few bucks. In my day, it was about manifesting, become the $1 million millionaire or whatever. And here's my course and here's my other course. And some of these people are still teaching. Some of these people are, getting people to walk on hot coals or karate chop a board to prove to themselves that, they can be in control of their own lives.
Oh, that is so true. I just recently found someone here in Abu Dhabi doing that. He was so hard on all the people, telling them to close their eyes and walk on nails. And this is how you prove yourself that you can do it and get them. What is all of this? There's a lot happening like that. When I do it for myself, the way I do it is if I get triggered for no reason, if I suddenly get angry or sad or depressed for any reason, I get it. I try to figure out, why am I feeling this way? So I was, for example, speaking with someone and we are going and bickering throughout the conversation, right? We are doing this on and on and on for like an hour, and I got so frustrated and angry. And I'm so, okay, let me just tap into my intuition and try to find out what is going on. So I took a break and I told him, listen, can you shut up? Let me tap in. He tapped in, and what came through was, listen, both of you are saying the same thing. Who cares about the words and the terminologies that is used? So I calmed down and I said, hey, listen, let's not fight, because ultimately we are talking about the same thing. But it's like if I use economics, he would use macroeconomics, for example. It's just like similar stuff, but maybe we both don't know what economics means in the first place, but we're talking about we're talking about stuff we don't know, and then trying to correct each other about the topics that we don't know.
It does, but I want to applaud you for taking a step back and listening to yourself, to really, and when you're listening to yourself, you're not only just listening to Tanya, you're listening to your higher self, which is your soul that knows so much more and is tapped into an even higher source that, is the whole universe, multiple universes. We can't even say what it is. You can put a word on it, a label on it, but that doesn't even get to it. So good for you that you took a step back and went, okay, wait, let me just double check what this is. And then, and then you could resolve it in a way that was healthy and probably kinder than bickering for weeks on end.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to go back into ancestral healing part itself, okay? So let's say our grandfather, great grandfather went through something traumatic. Why can't they reincarnate and then fix their trauma? Why are we the ones taking the next
Okay.
baton?
So first of all, when we reincarnate, we're not reincarnating to fix something because that implies something was broken. When we reincarnate, it's so the soul can add an extra component. We individuate as unique sparks, right? And each individual is different by 1 percentage point or 2, the 6 degrees of separation, that kind of a thing. And we come in to expand our soul, to grow it, because as we as individual souls grow, we contribute that information, that life experience to the larger consciousness of all, the consciousness of all. So there is no beginning or end. The ancient Greeks believed that when someone died, that energy just went back into the whole universe, and then it would come back in as another life, but so that it could continue to do whatever it is that individual soul's growth was asking for. Now, what I believe. Have I written it? Do I prove it? There's no facts behind what I say. I intuitively know that many of us also come in to support other people, other souls in their soul growth. So for years, who's to say that I was with my ex-husband for 28 years because he was assisting me in growing? Who's to say I was with him that long to assist him in growing? Or we were both, and to me, that was just a horrible existence of a waste of 28 years in some ways. But we're all here, all of us, even if we walk the dark side, even if we choose to do heinous things to other human beings, somehow we are assisting someone else's soul growth. And those of us that see and can lift up or rise up and support others that are doing that, which is so needed right now, then those dark souls don't have to do that stuff. Because humanity's mandate, now I'm just going off on a tangent, I hope you don't mind.
No, please go ahead.
And then I'll answer your question about, why grandpa couldn't fix it. But humanity's mandate is for us to embody and be love in consciousness and in our energy system, being that energy light, and that's what the ascension pathways are all about. We are, all of us, currently getting downloads to ascend our consciousness, to lift it up to a higher level so that we can, as a human race, move forward, not backwards. And what's occurring on the planet right now is going backwards. And so now we get to why didn't grandpa fix his stuff, right? So when history repeats itself, it's because human consciousness has a loop that we haven't cut. We haven't cleared it. We haven't addressed it. And you don't even need to say, hey, I'm going to tell you, you can't do that. It's being aware that, oh, here it comes again. This is that loop. What I know is true is every individual makes a difference. So when I clear my ancestral lineage, my great grandpa who needed to fix his stuff gets fixed. He gets healed as well. The ancestors get healed as well, because there is a light worker, there is a being of consciousness consciously saying, I will love you anyway. I forgive you anyway. I respect you and what you had to live through anyway, even if it was horrific for you and the actions you took, I thought were horrific, even though I went up my dad's line because my dad's family immigrated to America in the late 1800s to a place called Louisiana, and they grew shrimp. How you grow a shrimp, I don't know, but anyway. And they moved from Germany, and they were Jews from Germany in the late 1800s. So the idea of being Jewish, or the practice of being Jewish, eventually didn't get passed down. But alcoholism did. And so they were all a long line of heavy drinkers. And so I was just curious, what was the cause of that? So I went back on my dad's side, and I went back as far as I could feel. I couldn't tell you exact dates or what, but I found an ancestor who probably, it felt like the 1700s in England. Who knows where it was? Could have been Australia, could have been New Mexico, could have been. But the man was a drunkard, and he was a drunkard. This ties into the feeling devalued because he couldn't earn enough or grow enough food to take care of his family. So he would just drink because he felt so horrible. And once I was able to relieve him of that burden, there was a lightness that happened. Now, did I cure alcoholism in that segment of my father's family? I have no idea. But it was interesting to go, okay, the heavy stuff didn't just start with my grandfather. It didn't just start with my grandmother.
Yeah.
It started way, way, way back. And then the behaviors were handed down because they didn't know better. And then in your family, set the table a certain way because we just always did that. Or we get together on this holiday because we just always do that. That's what you do as a family. Well, why? But it's because the ancestors started that for some reason. Who knows why? So do we reincarnate in order to fix our stuff? I think maybe we do. Because if we didn't get the lesson, like I say, okay, I'm going to sign up and learn how to self-regulate. I'm going to learn how to handle my stress. So that's what I'm signing up for this time. And then I incarnate and I meet a man who's a narcissist who just totally controls and manipulates till I don't know who I am. And I'm so stressed out of my mind because I want to be happy with this man, but I can't be happy with this man. And I become a diabetic. Did I self-regulate? Did I handle my stress? Which all of it actually happened. And that is my biggest lesson, is how do I manage my stress? And Tanya, I teach people how to do this all the time. Can I do it? I have my days where I can't do it. And so do I have to come back and learn again? I don't know. I think I'll just check that one off when I cross over. I think I did that. Come back and do something else.
It's interesting that you speak about diabetes. Do you know what is the spiritual significance of diabetes?
So it depends on what book you want to open up that has the famous author who has figured out what causes certain illnesses. I like Louise Hay. She's 90% right when I look at her stuff. She has a book called You Can Heal Your Life, and she wrote it during the 80s when she was working in Los Angeles with AIDS victims. And they were dying because they didn't feel loved. They didn't love themselves, all sorts of stuff. So in her book, it says diabetes comes from lack of joy.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling very joyful. Yeah. The thing about these things is when I meet people and I say, yeah, well, I became diabetic at such and so an age. Well, Susan, that's because you don't have joy in your life. You know what? So people use that against you because they want to think they know
Hmm.
you. They don't know me. Now, Carolyn Mays, who is an amazing medical intuitive, in her books, she says diabetes is about feeling too much responsibility, taking on too much responsibility. And I would say, yes, that's true for me. Hence,
Hmm.
then you don't have joy because you're doing too much and you're
Hmm.
taking care of everybody else because, and not yourself. Because now it goes back to the ancestral lineage. It's expected of you. Especially in my family, the women were expected to take care of the family. And when they got older, their daughters were supposed to take care of them. Who said, where was that written? It's, what book did that get written in? That was just a belief system handed down. And that doesn't necessarily have to be true.
What advice would you give someone who has recognized that they have a shadow, but they are not able to move forward?
The first thing, there's a couple things. First thing that comes to me is when you do this inner work, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to face your demons, your shadows, and trust yourself that it's for your highest good. So you have to be willing. And then journaling for me is so helpful. If I feel, like I said, when I felt that I was stopping, my business was hitting a block because I didn't feel valued, then I had to investigate that. That was my shadow. What is that? Where did it come from? What do I do to change that? For me, um, affirmations work great for me. I have been doing affirmations for 30 plus years, and they it helps me to rewire my brain. It helps me to rewire the thinking in my mind instead of doing a loop, because our neurosynapses are constantly firing. And if they fire in the same way constantly, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, then there's a rut kind of that happens. And it's hard to get out of that rut. So you have to reprogram your mind. And affirmations done in a way that it enters into your heart, even though I'm talking about the brain, enters into your heart, helps to rewire and create new neurosynapse connections. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And that's a simplistic affirmation. But I've written a bunch and I added, they really work for me. So I would say being willing to face your shadows, take it one at a time, not all of them. I actually have guided meditations on my Insight Timer app, the segment, where you can face your shadows. You can deal with the shame you might be carrying or whatever. But so being willing to do the work, journaling, asking yourself questions and being willing to answer them honestly. And if you find out that what you're dealing with really comes from an ancestor, then clear it. Just clear it. Not hard
How
to
do we
do.
clear it? Do we just say, I clear this off of my
Well, when you get,
soul?
when you, yes, you can. I mean, I believe you can. I believe you can because you're that powerful, I can tell. But other people will need assistance. And so in the Insight Timer app, I have a couple of ancestral clearing guided meditations so you can begin to see how that works and then develop it for yourself. I'm also doing ancestral clearing a couple more times on Zoom this year if people want to join so that they can get more assistance on that. But you can do it yourself. I really want your listeners to know there is nothing you cannot do as long as your intention is to align your vibration with a high frequency of love. There is nothing you cannot
Hmm.
heal or release or integrate. And that's my prayer always, daily, multiple times a day, is to have truth be revealed so that I can heal it or release it or integrate it. And so when you're working with your shadows, that's really what you're looking at. What's the truth here? And then you get to choose. I'm going to heal it. I'm going to be aware of it and love that part of myself until it's integrated. Or you can release it and say, this belongs to a great, 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 great ancestor. And I'm just going to release it now. It's not mine. I don't need to carry it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I also do journaling, a lot of journaling. Now I moved to recording it onto my phone because it takes time to write. So instead, I just record it on my phone, and then the voice memos show the transcript immediately so you can read it off of it. And it's helped me a lot as well. So it makes total sense. 2025, it seems like this pressure cooker for collective healing. From the work that you do, what are some of the most family karma that are coming up?
Because of the work that I do, I can see what some of the family issues are, the karmic issues are that are coming up all over the world. So the shadow is basically being revealed to us. What's happening in Gaza and between Israel and the Palestinians, that is ancient, ancient, ancient. What's happening in Ukraine and Russia, ancient, ancient, ancient. And it's all coming up. What was happening in Syria and Turkey, all of that, Afghanistan, the United States. What's happening in the United States is coming up because we hid it, buried. It got buried by wars and politicians and corporations and the need to make money. It was all of a sudden the truth was hidden, and it still has been. So all of this stuff that's happening is all humanity's collective shadows showing up because it has to be seen. You have to be able to see it before you can eradicate it or integrate it, deal with it. But if you ignore it, it just multiplies and it gets
That's
worse.
Interesting. That's interesting you
And
say
it
about the
becomes
shadows
systemic.
it's interesting
I'm
you
sorry.
talk about the shadow of US, right? Because we don't usually talk about the shadows that US have. We know about the shadows that's there in Gaza or Israel or Afghanistan because of the suppression that's there and all that. Could you dive deeper into what is happening? What was it that was suppressed? So maybe when we talk about it, it could bring light to it and heal it.
Well, first of all, I'm going to do a disclaimer. This is my opinion. Again, I think it's an intuitive opinion, but let's see, how do I say this? My country was founded on immigrants. And so the English people that got sent over here as indentured servants or came to establish a settlement, they were immigrants, and then other immigrants came. And then money system started on the slave trade, which was happening in other countries. But the immigrants that got kicked out of their country came to America and started bringing in slaves because that made money. That's one of the systems. But it was also, so I bring up the immigration thing because that's what we're dealing with. That's a thing that bothers me right now. I live in Southern California where I can't think of what it stands for, but the ICE people, the people that are hunting down people they think are illegal immigrants and capturing them and imprisoning them and sending them to places that their family will never even find them again. I mean, this is repetitive history now. This happened all over Europe and Asia. So this is happening here. And it's not, it's, in my opinion, this is my opinion, there are people that I love and adore that will disagree with me, but this is a bunch of white, entitled men who have a lot of money that want America to be made in their image, if that makes sense. And that doesn't include people who look different. That doesn't include people who believe different things or practice different things or work different kinds of jobs. It just doesn't include. It's very exclusive. And that's not, I am an American. That is not, to me, what our country was founded on. It was about freedom for all. And it was about accepting everyone. And the Civil War was an economic war. It was an economic war. And there was lots of brothers and families that were destroyed by it because it was also, the economy was slavery. And so this is all coming up now in America. That's just one of the pieces, one of the tips of the iceberg, because we have hidden it. Oh, we weren't that bad. We didn't do that. We've hidden it. And now we're seeing it played out again against the Hispanic communities that come here looking for help, looking for a way to feed their families. And yeah, they're sending their money down to their countries, to their families, but they came here just like my Irish ancestors or my German Jewish ancestors. They came here looking to find a better way to live life, and to be hunted down like animals is not a better life. And that's what we're doing. That's one of the things we're doing right now. It's frightening. It's totally frightening to me. I have never been that straight up on air.
When you look at the future, do you see hope? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
I have my days. I have a brand new grandbaby, so I got to focus on the light, just like she still does. I got to focus on the light. But it's also what I do, why I do what I do as a podcaster is I have people that are more amazing, have investigated things that I just can't investigate, who bring me hope. You know, I'm talking about people that deal with grief counseling. I'm talking about people that are developing foundations to ensure that the planet is well cared for. People that are, in fact, I have a woman who wrote a book called Hope for a New World. Great book. So those people give me hope. Do I hold hope every day? That's a little challenging right now.
Yeah, I bet. And as a podcaster too, it is true that every time we get someone on the show and then they shed their light, it's like every time you become a better person as well. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I find it too, I'm sure as you do, such a blessing to be able to do this.
Oh, I love it. I've been doing podcasting for about 8 or 9 years. I was on radio for much longer. And every year I check in, do I want to keep doing this? But I learned so much, so I keep doing it.
So Susan, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. Could you tell us more about where we can find you and the wonderful work that you do?
So if you're curious, go to susanburrell.com. It's Burrell. That's my website. You can find out about the ancestral clearing workshops that I'm doing on Zoom. You can find out about other classes I'll be teaching. Some of them are on Zoom, so that would be helpful for your listeners. You can also find out about my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-Day Journey. And all my affirmations I wrote, I made inspirational cards out of. And so you can pick a card when you're having a rough day and just carry it around in your pocket and be reminded of the truth of who you are. You can also access my podcast, Empowering Chats, and you can access my guided meditations through the Insight Timer app. And their icon is at the bottom of every page. I also am on Substack. So, hey, I'm just doing a lot right now.
Yeah. Yes, for someone who said
and
you're
I'm a
not
grandma.
tech. Substack and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. Good job, Susan. Very good.
Well, I do have a team now. I called in a team because it was too much for me. But yeah, so.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Susan.
That's how you find me.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yes, all the links that were mentioned will be put in the description. So don't worry, guys. All of Susan's social media channels and links will be in the description. Thank you once again, Susan, for coming on the podcast and speaking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for being such an amazing light in the world. You really are radiant from the inside out. Thank you.
Thank you.